Monday. We are live here. We're live here on feederradio.com. So we're going to introduce our first guest in the building. Soft Riot, guys. Make some noise. Soft Riot. How you doing? How you doing? How you doing, mate?
I'm doing okay.
Happy New Year to you.
I feel like I'm in a digital hardcore band. I need to pull away from here. The mic here.
So I can tell straight away that your accent is from where you from?
I'm from Canada.
I didn't want to guess because it's either Canada or Canada.
I mean, people always say they're sorry when they think I'm an American, but it's kind of like
I knew you were Canadian.
It's kind of like me saying someone from Yorkshire or Manchester,
exactly.
and then like, what the fuck?
And you're not from Toronto, are you?
No, I'm from
Ottawa.
Vancouver.
Huh?
I'm from Vancouver.
Vancouver, there you go, Vancouver.
Yeah.
It has to be one of them, it's one or the other. So tell us, what are you doing in London? How did you get to be in London?
I moved here about 6 years ago now, and I was in Vancouver for like 10 years before that.
Yeah.
You know, when you kind of hit a ceiling in your life, and you just kind of like, Vancouver is very sort of remote compared to like if you want to be a musician and travel around. Like closest cities like 4 hours and 16 hours away, and then you cross the border, which is a lot trickier to do now with the heightened border security. So
of course. No, let's talk about Soft Riot. So where does the name come from? Because we had London riots here a couple of years ago, and we don't want to go back to that, obviously, but this is the soft version of the riot.
Well, I have the name. Well, I've only really been actively doing the project for about 3 years now, but I started like 2006, and I was kind of in other bands at the time, and I didn't really know how to do it because it's just one person initially, so I was kind of just going to the studio late at night. We had the studio in Vancouver in this industrial part of town, and then I don't know if you know much about Vancouver, but it's like London where it's like hyper gentrified, like rents are going up like crazy. Like I find Vancouver more expensive than London now. When I go back and visit, I'm just kind of, you know, £6 for a beer kind of thing. But we kind of got kicked out of a studio in a very snaky way.
As you do.
Because the Olympics that were happening like in 2010, so they were kind of preparing this whole area for that. And it's just kind of like everybody sort of passive discontent about this sort of situation in the political system. And I just kind of had this term when I was in the studio late at night, like Soft Riot. You know, people are kind of always online, kind of complaining about stuff, but there's always like, it's never really in a riot scenario for most people. It kind of gets to the very edge, and you know, they think keep pushing it and pushing it. You know, who knows what's gonna happen? You know. So.
I like that. I like playing with a live band. You got a full band or?
No, it's just me and I play like 4 synthesizers live. So.
Wow, that could be amazing to watch. Right. Let's talk about inspirations. So, who were your musical inspirations growing up?
Well, a lot of people, when you read interviews with them, it's like pop music, but I was listening to music that most people probably wouldn't sit and listen to for more than 5 minutes, because it was very, I guess like the biggest band I could think of growing up was like a band like Fugazi or something. Lots of like sort of underground punk and hardcore bands from that scene, so I was like booking a lot of shows, and as a teenager, like all ages shows, where local bands from the area I grew up in would come and play, and there was like this sort of scene, so. You know, I kind of grew up on that. And it's like, obviously, when I was younger, like, you get bits of like synth pop and stuff. Like, you know, I remember hearing like Depeche Mode, Get the Balance Right when I was like 6 or 7.
Yeah.
It was like, oh, what's this? It's like my uncle's like mixed like Dolby cassette tape. And
tapes? Who knows about tapes? You're taking me back. So people don't even know what vinyls are. Your tapes is way back. Questions, Tony, do you want to start? Do you want to start with your own question?
Yeah. What your newest interest was in terms of music?
It's weird. I've been like watching a lot of like my interests in music are kind of like internal fads with myself and maybe my girlfriend. And lately, we've been watching a lot of these like sort of 70s like sort of like psychological supernatural thrillers like Omega Factor and stuff, where it's kind of like one of those shows where everybody's drinking a whiskey every 5 minutes. But basically, there's a lot of interesting soundtrack music in there, like very sort of like modular synth stuff or just like weird orchestral music. I don't know, I kind of find it different than like, you know, going to shows and like writing my own music where it's more like sort of like this sort of pop music format. So
okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And also I was going to say the first band that I thought of when I heard your stuff is the Horrors new stuff, but you don't have it down as one of your influences or one of your.
I think that's pretty cool. I obviously listen to the Horrors, but most people pick like sort of like the obvious stuff like Cabaret Voltaire, like Human League or something. Although I don't, when I write music, been doing like electronic music for long enough that I just kind of do things like I think of things in a technical way, not like, oh, I want to sound like this. I'd be like, I want to put this synth in this space because there's a gap, you know, kind of like think about music like that more so than